Alright, the next thing I want to do is animate the background. First I'm going to select all, hit the letter U to collapse these so we aren't looking at all the keyframes that we aren't working with currently. We see we have a background layer here, which in Photoshop we applied a fractal cloud effect to. One reason I did that is that we have similar effects in After Effects that we can animate. So let's take a look at those. If I go to the Effects panel and click on its menu, you actually can't see that there is something called Browse Presets right here. Select Browse Presets. It'll open up Adobe Bridge, which is open right here. Let me resize that. Okay, so in Adobe Bridge, within the presets folder, you see folders for a lot of different effects that there are presets for. If we go into backgrounds, double click, we see a number of animated backgrounds. If you click on these, you see a preview of what that looks like over here. Most of these, one way or another, are generated from the fractal noise with different parameters and other effects layered on top of them. Now this fog lights is probably the closest to what I was working with, so I'm going to go ahead and select that. There are different ways of applying this. I could just go back into After Effects and drag it on. The easiest way is just to double click on this. Because I had the background layer selected, when I double clicked on the effect, it got applied to that layer. If I open the effect controls, you see the fractal noise. You also see a tritone color effect and levels being applied. To get this to look like what I had in Photoshop, I'm just going to change the colors here. I had something along these lines, something blue, and go ahead and keep this dark but put it in the blue range. And that's not exactly the same, but I wasn't being that careful in Photoshop to be very specific. If I look at the keyframes for this, you might have noticed that the background animation didn't start right away. That's because I had the time set here when I applied the effect, so the effect got applied at this point. Notice that it also ends 5 seconds later. Most of the presets are designed to be 5 seconds long. We have a 20-second long animation, so there are a couple ways to deal with that. First of all, we want it to start at the beginning, but we don't want it to end here. If we took these keyframes and slid them all the way down to the end, we would have an animation going the full length, but it would be a much slower animation because the same animation now takes 4 times as long. If we like things moving at speed, that's fine, we're done. If we want to remedy that, we would have to look at the parameters that are being animated and see what they're doing. So there's a rotation that goes from 0 to -5. So if I change that to -20, then I will have scaled that animation essentially. If I look at this offset and look at its values, we see that things are increasing about, the offset increases by about 60. If I wanted to scale that up, I would add another 240, so basically make it 500 and about, well, about 500. If I look at the subrotation, it goes from 0 to 5. So if I go from 0 to 20, I will have scaled that. If I look at this, we see like 560 to 275, similar to the other offset we were working with. But these are going negative. So if I took off another 240, so it made this like 110 and like 45. Look at evolution. It's going from 0 to 2. Add an appropriate increment to that. It'll be 8 complete revolutions. And now we should see an animation in the background that has a similar quality to the shorter one before. It's moving about the same speed. Some of the background effects, the only thing that's changing is evolution. Evolution is often what drives it, because evolution is what creates the change in the fractal noise. These other settings are what give it the particular character we see here. So here's the animation, pretty much finished, running at real time at half resolution.